Hey boys, yeah, that sucked. I am sorry. We had to deal with that. That was a very confusing match. A lot of good that is hard to remember, mostly because I missed a decent amount of the beginning of the first half, which sucks because I heard that it was amazing. We played some of the best football we played all season, and also a lot of really bad, which thank God I was privy for, and I saw that, so I can't complain about. And honestly, less being upset at how the guys played and more kind of just being upset at the way it played out, if that makes sense. The situation we were put in with the players that we had, and not only having a number of players out, PSG also had a number of players out, but in the specific positions that they were out in, I think that was significantly disruptive to the way this team plays, especially against a team that can be so intense and can replace their players that are intense with other players that can be intense and of similar quality. That's why PSG can be so dangerous, whether or not they have Dembele or Doué or Marquinhos in the lineup. It doesn't really matter, not necessarily as much as it does for a lot of other teams, because they have so much quality depth there in a way that Barcelona were without today. I think specifically in a few key areas. To start off, I heard that the beginning of the game was so good. Ferran Torres scored a pretty solid goal, Rashford and all that. I didn't see it. I missed a decent amount of the beginning of the match because I am traveling in Italy right now. This is the last day, though, so I will be back. So I just wasn't specifically able to watch that for that reason. I'm not going to necessarily comment much on it. I took a little bit away from what people were saying and just saying it was promising to see them play so well against a team like PSG, right? Yes, they have injuries and that's reasonable, but we had injuries too. And to see us still play well against a team that, is still a high quality team, whether or not they have all of these stars in or out of the lineup, it doesn't really matter. Now, after like the 30-minute mark, PSG started getting into the game and played into it and kind of figured it out. From there on, I started watching it, and it didn't look good for us, right? They were creating chance after chance and looked dangerous, even if it wasn't great, even if we defended okay, and then on the goal we conceded, could have defended a little bit better. It was kind of mistakes and a little flawed in that way. I really do think that we were still in the game going into the second half here, and obviously being 1-1, I think at our home stadium, obviously we're still in it. But today specifically, from there, to me, it really felt like we just never had a shot. The way they played, it wasn't there. There was no cohesion. I feel like the press got non-existent. The defensive line got chaotic. When the subs were made, I think in theory they made sense, but it left us with this team, right? When Dani Olmo was taken out, then when Marc Barnal came on for Pedri, especially in the midfield, where the gap between our forwards and our midfielders and our defenders was massive. Ferran Torres and Lewandowski were pressing. All the while, Lamine is in this weird middle ground on the right side because the kid's obviously gassed after playing pretty solidly from what I've been told in the beginning, and obviously it's like cooking the hell out of these guys in the first 2 minutes. I saw some highlights of that. To a point where he was really hard for him to get in the play because all these guys had energy, right? They're all match fit. They'd all been playing. Nuno Mendes, obviously one of the best left backs, probably the best left back in the world, if I'm going to be honest. Like he was on form today. He was ready, and we just weren't. It just didn't feel like we were. Lamine was clearly, obviously coming off injury. It's like it's reasonable to see all this. Like when I, said Dro didn't play well in the last match. It's not this big deal. It's just a small critique of the way he played in the game and the way I expect a Barcelona player to play. It's nothing personal against these guys. And Lamine Yamal just wasn't there. But obviously he's not going to be, right? He's coming off of injury. Same goes for Balde when he came in. Same goes for Marc Bernal when he came in. Same can be said for Frankie de Jong, even for a little bit of it, at least in the second half, because he has to deal with a lot. He did just come back from injury a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. And to not be at full fitness 100%, especially with guys behind you like Eric Garcia and Pau Cubarsí. Now, I don't think they were the biggest issues today, but they're not the best together. That's not our Gala 11, and not at all. Right now, it's probably Christensen. They're still trying to figure that out. Maybe Araujo, but again, he didn't get any minutes today. Why that is, I'm not exactly sure. I saw him warming up. Didn't get any play time, though. Christensen ended up coming in, but it was honestly, and then when he came in, we ended up conceding, if I do remember correct. Yeah, that's what happened. I think Eric Garcia has been fine, pretty solid at center back, honestly, compared to what I expect, but it's not a perfect setup. Jordan Martin, obviously at left back, had a solid debut or solid just performance overall, but obviously we want more from that. When Balde came in, I don't know, bro. It just didn't seem like it. I was able to watch that entire performance, and I don't know. He's obviously he's coming back from injury, right? This is all we got to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's not that deep. It's not that personal. Balde wasn't good and had trouble getting to the game. The defensive setup altogether, though, it wasn't just Balde. It wasn't just Casado. It wasn't just Bernal. It wasn't just Koundé on the right or Eric Garcia at the back. Homies were all over the place, bro. It looks like playing with a much worse team, honestly. Like you're playing against a top team. It's like Man City's toying with Wrexham. You know what I mean? Before they bought all the guys, like seriously, but before Wrexham bought everybody and then moved up 2 leagues, like it looked bad and everyone was all over the place and they still did a decent job to fight, stay in the game. Chesney made saves. Balde made a last minute header. These guys were there in moments, making good saves, doing good things. Obviously, it wasn't enough, right? They ended up conceding that second goal to Gonzalo Ramos, who, man, was that offside. I was in a bar watching it. The guy behind me thought it was offside. I knew it wasn't, but I was just hoping and praying because who knows, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I wasn't wrong. It was onside. And that really hurt. That really upset me. And obviously, I'm sure it upset all of you guys too, but it is what it is. That's the kind of goal we concede. And then when we're not doing anything going forward, God, oh my God, guys, I've been preaching about this a couple times over the past couple of videos. Free kicks and set pieces, man, especially at the end of the game when these guys are tired. Ferran Torres, what are you doing? They're obviously trying to play something else, maybe play a short ball to the first man, kind of like the Wout Weghorst goal against Messi or against Argentina in the World Cup last, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. Kind of like that in my eyes, but didn't work. Was a waste of a chance. Then it gave an opportunity for PSG, and that's frustrating. We've seen it time and time again with corners, and we didn't create corners very much today in the second half, and we just were not creating. We weren't doing enough, and guys, that's upsetting to me. It's really, really frustrating, especially when it's a free kick. It's free. We have everything in our control, and yet it happens a little bit too often, in my opinion, that it goes out of our control, if that makes sense. And I think we need to really work on that. We got to figure that out. Flesh out these set pieces, work on them more in practice. They're clearly trying things, and that's good to see. But sometimes I'd rather just, hey, let Rashford take a corner here. Let him hit it into the box. Let him just hit it into the box. Let Ferran Torres just chip a ball in over the line and hope that Christensen or Kouarsi or somebody big with energy, Mark Bernal, 6'5" of that guy, man, gets on the ball here. And I think specifically here in the middle that I was really, really frustrated with is how we ended the game with 3 defensive midfielders. And I understand doing that, right? I understand that, but because we're getting, I just said how PSG had all this attention and fight and drive and blah, 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 and all of this. The problem is, though, that separates the line from Lewandowski and Ferran Torres and Lamine Yamal from the rest of our players because they just don't naturally fill in those spaces, especially when Pedri came out, because Pedri is one of those guys that can adapt, even though it didn't look fantastic with him at the number 10 today when he did have to move up slightly there. Casado and Bernal are just not going to fill those spaces in the same way. You saw Lewandowski kind of leave a dummy from one of the balls that Ferran Torres passed him. It was a little bit behind him, to be fair, but Lewandowski dummied it and left it behind him instead of trying to get a foot on it, trying to pull it into his path. Nobody was making that run because it was Marc Bernal and Marc Casado. These guys are not for that position. I understand Hansi Flick has been trying out all of our midfielders. Whenever someone comes back from injury, he slots them into the number 10 spot. I understand that. That's what happens. It's just really frustrating that we were out. Rafinha could kind of play there. Fermin Lopez, obviously more importantly, could have gone right in for Dani Olmo. Perfect. Would have finished his chances better than we saw at the end there and would have changed this game for us significantly. And, oh, God, it's just so upsetting that it went this way. Joel Garcia, obviously, even if Chesney had a fine game, I guess. I missed the first goal, so I can't really note that. The second goal, though, what are you going to do? Made a couple other saves and everything. Garcia, obviously, it's just the main 11. Having these guys around is important. It's just consistency, and it's frustrating. In the end, though, I think this is a good learning experience for the team because we're going to struggle in a couple matches, especially with the way this team has been going with all these injuries and uncertainty piling up and piling up. Obviously, Gavi's injury lasting longer, Joan Garcia's injury, having surgery, and all of that. It's more significant than I think a lot of people thought. We're going to have to be fighting these demons for a little while. Mark Ter Stegen might come back. Homies in the back are going to be upset about that one. But moving swiftly along, we got to kind of figure out how to fight in these situations. And the more often we see them, the better we will be at taking them down, at handling them better, like we will against Real Madrid, even if this Madrid team's kind of all over the place, but so is Atleti, right? And these are good sides that we need to be prepared to fight 90 minutes against, even, well, maybe not 90 minutes for Atleti and even maybe Real Madrid. So it's not necessarily the same thing, but experiencing this more and more, I think, is one of the best points of having these group stages like this in the Champions League now, where last season I was kind of really upset about it, but this season I've warmed up to it slowly, and it is nice. It is nice to be able to see all these great teams. It's nice to see, I think Man City drew today. Liverpool lost this morning. Like, it's cool to see these big games happen, and upsets happen as well. A lot of teams are struggling. Let's see what else happened. Arsenal obviously won 2-0. City drew with Monaco, with Eric Dyer scoring a pen at the end. That's just the weirdest thing to see. Ansu Fati's been playing well, but guys, yeah, overall, I think it's a good learning experience for the side. I wish that we had more options, especially on the front line. Could we ask more questions of Hansi? Probably. Is that why we lost? I don't really think so. I don't think it's on him when the players, after being on there for a while, lose the control of the game and kind of lose their positions a little bit, especially when Balde came back from injury and was kind of all over the place. Hasn't played with Caicedo specifically in a while. Caicedo hasn't gotten any game time. Marc Bernal barely played. It's a lot here. It's a lot to ask of the side, especially against the reigning treble holders, right? It's a big deal. But overall, those 30 minutes at the beginning need to be watched again by me specifically. Sorry, guys, I couldn't do the ratings today, but it's just, I didn't want to, I think it would be unfair. I don't think I would be able to do it accurately to the best of my ability, and because I just don't want to do it. But thank you guys for watching. Visca Barca. As you know, boys, this has been an up and down roller coaster for a while. We're still going up. We're still going up no matter what, and we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens, right? And I'll see all you guys in the next one. Peace.